Welcome to The Explainer. So have you ever had that thought, is my next interview going to be with a robot? Well, for millions of people, that's not science fiction anymore. It's reality. Today, we're going to break down the AI-powered video interviews that are completely changing the game for how we get hired.
All right, let's jump right in with a number that might honestly shock you. 54%. That is the percentage of job seekers in the US who've already had an interview led by an AI. So yeah, this isn't some far-off experimental tech. For more than half of us, it's the new normal.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Look at this massive gap. On one hand, you've got a staggering 96% of companies using AI in their hiring process, but on the other, a tiny 6% of us, the candidates, actually feel comfortable with it. And that huge disconnect is exactly what we're digging into today.
So you might be asking, how in the world did we get here so fast? Well, like with so many other things, you can thank the pandemic. It was a massive supercharger. I mean, when in-person interviews just stopped overnight, companies scrambled for a solution, and AI interviews went from being this niche experiment to standard practice for the biggest companies out there.
So who are the big players running this whole show? Well, the market's really dominated by a few key companies. HireVue is the leader of the pack, with about 28% of the market. And get this, their platform is used by a whopping 60% of the Fortune 100 companies.
Okay, now for the part I know you're all curious about. How do these systems actually score you? It feels like a total mystery, right? So let's crack open that black box and see what's really going on inside.
The first thing you absolutely have to know is that the tech has made a massive shift. The early versions, well, they got into a lot of hot water for trying to analyze things like your facial expressions and tone of voice. But after a ton of criticism, the big platforms moved on. Today, it's not about how you look or sound, it's all about what you say. The AI is analyzing the actual content, the words you choose, your logic, and how you structure your answers.
So here's how that works, broken down into 4 simple steps. First, you record your answer. Pretty simple. Then, your voice gets transcribed into text. After that, a really powerful language model, kind of like the engine behind ChatGPT, chews through that text. And finally, boom, it spits out a score rating you on different skills, like problem solving or communication.
And chances are, this is the exact format you're going to face. It's called a one-way or asynchronous interview. There is no human on the other side of the screen. You get a question, a crazy short window to prepare, we're talking just 30 seconds, and then you have maybe 1 to 2 minutes to record your answer before it automatically moves on to the next one. No pressure, right? All of this brings us to the really high-stakes debate at the heart of this tech. For companies, it's a dream come true, huge efficiency gains. But for the rest of us, and for regulators, it brings up some really serious questions about fairness, bias, and just what it means to be human in this process.
If you want to understand why companies love this stuff, just look at this number. £1 million. That's how much the consumer goods giant Unilever said it saved in just 1 year after it started using AI interviews. With savings like that, it's pretty clear why this tech is spreading like wildfire.
And it's not just about the money, it's about speed. I mean, this is incredible. Unilever cut its hiring time by 90%. 90! And Hilton Hotels, they went from a hiring process that took 6 weeks, or 42 days, all the way down to just 5. For massive companies, that's not just an improvement, it's a revolution.
But what's the human cost of all that efficiency? I think this quote from Professor Zahira Jasser just nails it. She talks about this existential dread people feel. And that's so true, isn't it? At one of the most important moments of your career, you're just talking to a machine.
And that feeling of being misunderstood, it's not just a feeling. The data backs it up. So remember that first step where the AI transcribes your voice? Well, one study found a huge gap. Error rates for people with African and South Asian accents were over 3 times higher than for native speakers. And that directly led to them being flagged for low engagement way more often. That's a serious problem.
So, because of issues just like that one, lawmakers are literally scrambling to catch up. Starting with Illinois back in 2020, then New York City, and now the entire European Union, we are seeing a flood of new laws trying to put some guardrails on this tech, forcing audits and demanding more transparency.
All right, so knowing all of that, the big question is, how do you actually succeed in one of these interviews? Because let's be real, this tech isn't going away anytime soon. So let's get into the practical toolkit you can use to nail your next AI interview.
Listen up, because this is probably the single most important thing you can do. Use the STAR method.
That's situation, task, action, and result. This simple framework gives the AI's language models exactly what they're trained to find: a clear, structured story with a beginning, middle, and end. And please always, always finish with a result you can quantify. Numbers are your best friend here.
Next up, your text setup. You have to treat this like a pilot's pre-flight checklist. It's totally non-negotiable. Get that camera at eye level. Make sure your lighting is coming from in front of you, not behind. And if you can, use a wired internet connection. Oh, and here's a pro tip. A lot of these platforms let you hide your own video feed. Use it. It'll keep you from getting distracted by your own face.
Now, this piece of advice comes straight from the experts, and it's so important. Do not try to game the system. It's really tempting to think you can just stuff your answers with a bunch of keywords you found in the job description, but trust me, the AI is way too smart for that. It's analyzing nuanced language, so a natural, confident, and authentic delivery is going to be way more effective. Just be you.
And if you're thinking, I can just wing it, I want you to look at this range. Studies have shown that anywhere from 54 to 84% of people who don't prepare fail these automated interviews. Let me say that again, up to 84% fail. Practice isn't just a good idea here, it is absolutely essential.
And all of this brings us back to that one big final question that we still don't have an answer to. Is this technology actually making hiring faster and fairer by stripping away our human biases? Or is it just creating a new, deeper, and maybe even more dangerous form of algorithmic bias? That, right there, is the debate that's going to shape the future of work for every single one of us.